Trump's base in Iowa was supposed to be unshakable, a fortress of red in the heartland. Yet just this week, that illusion shattered. A district Trump won by more than 11 points flipped decisively to the Democrats. Caitlin Dray, a 37-year-old community organizer and political newcomer, humiliated Trump's chosen MAGA candidate in a landslide. This wasn't just an upset. This was a warning. This video will prove that Trump's humiliating defeat in Iowa's Senate District 1 was not an isolated anomaly. It was a reflection of a shifting political landscape. By examining the issues that resonated with voters, the weaknesses in the GOP's culture war playbook, and the growing Democratic momentum in deep red states, we'll uncover why Trump's stronghold is starting to collapse. The message is clear. MAGA's dominance is cracking, and Iowa is ground zero for this unraveling. In this analysis, we'll first set the stage by exploring the political climate in Iowa, its history of Republican dominance, and the stakes of this special election. Then, we'll dive into three critical factors. First, how Democrats reframed the issues to connect with working families. Second, why Trump's obsession with culture wars backfired. And third, how grassroots grit and organization delivered a shockwave. Finally, we'll look at the broader implications for 2026 and beyond, asking whether Iowa's blue flicker could ignite a national wave strong enough to derail Trump's comeback dreams. Iowa has long been regarded as a Republican fortress. Trump himself carried the state comfortably in both 2016 and 2020. And in 2024, he won Senate District 1 by more than 11 points. For decades, Iowa Republicans leaned heavily on rural conservatism, evangelical mobilization, and an anti-establishment rhetoric that resonated with small towns facing economic stagnation. The GOP supermajority in the Iowa Senate symbolized this dominance. Yet beneath the surface, cracks had begun forming. Rural depopulation, underfunded schools, and healthcare deserts created frustration that partisan slogans could no longer mask. On one side stood Caitlin Dray, founder of Moms for Iowa, a grassroots organization motivated by concerns over gun violence, healthcare access, and the affordability crisis. Inspired by leaders like Stacey Abrams, she entered politics not as a careerist, but as a mother and community advocate determined to help her neighbors and do the right thing. On the other side was Christopher Proch, a MAGA loyalist and communications consultant for Christian conservatives. His campaign mirrored Trump's playbook, railing against woke politics, defending pipelines, and emphasizing culture war talking points. The clash was not just between two candidates, but between two visions of what politics in Iowa should be: problem solving versus grievance politics. The outcome carried enormous weight. By flipping this seat, Democrats not only broke the GOP's supermajority, but also signaled a formula for challenging MAGA dominance in other deep red regions. With key contests looming, such as the Senate race against Republican Joni Ernst and the governor's race where Rob Sand is gaining momentum, the Iowa result became a national story. It raised a sobering question for Republicans. If Trump can lose here, where else might the MAGA stronghold collapse? One of the clearest reasons for Trump's humiliation in Iowa was the stark contrast between the campaign's focus. While the MAGA candidate leaned heavily into culture wars, Caitlin Dray centered her platform on tangible, everyday struggles: affordability, childcare, healthcare, jobs, and education. In her own words, Dray highlighted the affordability crisis. Housing and childcare are sometimes difficult to access, and when it's accessible, it's not affordable. The same can be said of our healthcare. This wasn't ideological rhetoric. It was a diagnosis of everyday pain in rural Iowa. By comparison, Proch prioritized messaging around CO2 pipelines, eminent domain, and woke politics, a package that may excite MAGA loyalists, but fails to address the kitchen table anxieties voters carry every day. This mismatch is profound. For years, Trump's strategy has been to inflame cultural divisions, painting Democrats as threats to freedom, religion, or traditional values. But when voters face rising costs, underfunded schools, or inaccessible doctors, those grievances lose traction. Dre reframed politics as local problem solving. Her campaign slogan, "Policies that care more about people than pipelines," captured this ethos. This shift suggests that even in Trump country, issues-based campaigning can pierce through years of partisan conditioning. More importantly, it points to a deeper weakness in Trump's coalition. When material conditions deteriorate, symbolic fights lose potency. The Iowa defeat highlights the limits of Trump's culture war politics. For nearly a decade, Trump and his allies have thrived by railing against woke elites, immigration, and progressive social change. But in Iowa, that playbook ran into a wall. Christopher Proch epitomized the MAGA message, railing against woke this, woke that, while insisting on protecting conservative values. The Guardian reported that he was exactly the kind of candidate who, a few years ago, would have never seen the light of day on a ballot. Yet despite Trump carrying the district by double digits, Proch lost decisively. Why? Because the culture war did not resonate where people are dealing with shrinking rural populations, schools closing, and healthcare deserts. The relentless focus on ideological enemies feels detached from lived realities. This mirrors a national trend. In recent special elections across the U.S., Democrats have consistently overperformed by 10 to 15 points, suggesting MAGA's once powerful cultural wedge issues are losing effectiveness. The Iowa results expose an uncomfortable truth for Trump. The politics of fear and resentment cannot compensate for failure to deliver on basic governance. Caitlin Dre's victory wasn't simply a rejection of Trumpism, it was also a triumph of grassroots grit. Inspired by Stacey Abrams, Dre showed that organizing, door-to-door engagement, and community-rooted activism can succeed even in hostile territory. Dre herself admitted she never considered herself a political person until she realized that MAGA politics were invading daily life in Iowa. From there, her campaign leaned on grassroots tactics. Volunteers like Josh Turk, an Iowa state representative who uses a wheelchair after 21 surgeries caused by Agent Orange exposure, embodied this spirit. Turk knocked on doors, dragged his wheelchair upstairs, and told voters, "That's how important it is to have a conversation with you." Such stories reinforced authenticity and determination in a way slick MAGA messaging could not replicate. Grassroots movements succeed because they forge trust. Voters who may never vote for Democrats in the abstract are willing to support candidates who meet them at their doorstep and speak about their lives. Dre's campaign replicated the Abrams model: identify issues, mobilize communities, and humanize politics. Trump's machine, by contrast, thrives on spectacle, rallies, headlines, and outrage. In a local contest where voters expect face-to-face accountability, the MAGA spectacle fell flat. This reveals a critical asymmetry. Democrats can adapt bottom-up strategies to local concerns, while Trump's brand relies on nationalized top-down polarization. Perhaps the most consequential outcome of Iowa's election is psychological. Trump's aura of invincibility in deep red America has been punctured. Once voters witness that MAGA can lose in Trump plus 11.5 districts, the stronghold myth begins to unravel. Earlier this year, Democrat Mike Zimmer flipped another Iowa district that Trump had carried by 21 points. Together, these victories form a pattern, not a coincidence. As Congressman Ted Lieu wrote, Democrats flip another special election seat, this time in Iowa, Senate one. Congratulations, Caitlin Dre, for breaking a Republican supermajority. The loss carries not just legislative consequences, but also symbolic ones, ending the GOP's absolute dominance in Iowa's Senate. Politics is as much about perception as it is about numbers. For years, MAGA's strength rested on inevitability, the idea that Trump country was impenetrable. The collapse in Iowa undermines that mythology. Republicans now face a dilemma: double down on Trumpism and risk further alienation, or attempt moderation and fracture the base. Either choice weakens their position heading into 2026. The humiliation is not just Trump's, it is the party's, exposing a vulnerability that Democrats will undoubtedly exploit. What happened in Iowa isn't just a local story, it's part of a larger national trend. Since 2022, Democrats have consistently overperformed in special elections, often by margins of 10 to 15 points above expectations. Iowa's Senate District 1, once considered untouchable Trump territory, is now a symbol of that momentum. The fact that a Democratic newcomer could topple a MAGA candidate in a district Trump carried by double digits in 2024 suggests that MAGA's grip is weakening even in the heartland. This signals more than voter fatigue. It points to a recalibration where practical issues matter more than ideological battles. The ripple effects could be significant. First, the breaking of the GOP's supermajority in Iowa limits how far MAGA Republicans can push their agenda in the state legislature. Second, the momentum may carry into upcoming statewide contests. Democratic State Representative Josh Turk's Senate bid against Johnny Ernst now looks more viable. And State Auditor Rob Sands' surge in the governor's race reflects the same undercurrent. Nationally, if Democrats continue to replicate this strategy, prioritizing affordability, healthcare, and education over culture wars, Trump could face a cascading series of humiliations in regions once thought immune to Democratic advances. The Iowa result is a canary in the coal mine. If MAGA is losing here, Republicans may struggle to defend even safer districts in the 2026 midterms. Trump's humiliation in Iowa is more than a headline. It's a turning point. In a district he carried by 11.5 points just a year earlier, voters chose a Democrat who spoke about real problems instead of culture wars. Caitlin Dre's victory not only dismantled the GOP's supermajority in the Iowa Senate, but also shattered the myth of Trump's invincibility in deep red America. The lesson is clear. When Democrats focus on affordability, healthcare, jobs, and education, and when they build campaigns rooted in grassroots grit, they can compete and win anywhere. If Trump can lose in Iowa, what does that say about his grip on the rest of the country? Are we witnessing the unraveling of MAGA's strongest defenses, or will Republicans double down on extremism to rally their base? The answer may determine the trajectory of American politics heading into 2026 and beyond. So what's your take? Do you see Iowa as the beginning of the end for Trump's MAGA machine, or just a temporary stumble? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I want to hear from you. And if you found this deep dive valuable, make sure to hit like, subscribe, and share this video. The more we cut through the noise, the more power we give to the truth. Thanks for watching.